Mr. Speaker, you will recall that last year, when the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission proposed to conduct elections, this House, via a resolution, wrote to the Commission, advising the Commission of the risk of carrying out an election that is not in consonance with the Electoral Act. Mr. Speaker, sadly, Chairman, members of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission ignored the invitation and warnings of this House and went ahead to conduct an election which we can now describe as ill-fated. Mr. Speaker, we are aware of the recent Supreme Court judgment which annulled that election, which has washed almost 4 billion naira of taxpayers' money down the drain. Mr. Speaker, also recall that just on Monday, this House sat and seeing the issues, seeing the pitfalls, resolved that immediately the laws governing elections in Rivers State through the Rivers State Electoral Commission should be really amended to align with the Electoral Act so that such dangerous occurrence does not happen again, so that we do not keep wasting taxpayers' money. Mr. Speaker, recall that the reason why the Supreme Court annulled that election was because it was not in consonance with the Electoral Act. This House came here and agreed that we should immediately amend the law to be in consonance with the Electoral Act. Mr. Speaker, it will sadden you and break your heart to know that just a few days ago, the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission has gone ahead to announce that they begin the process to conduct an election. The issues that put us in this quagmire have not been resolved. The problem has not been cured. Our laws are still in consonance with the Electoral Act. Does it mean that we want to again wash down almost 4 billion naira again? Funds that we will use to build schools, to build hospitals, to make people happy. Mr. Speaker, this House cannot sit and allow such wastage of public funds. We cannot sit and watch such misappropriation of unappropriated funds. That is why I'm bringing this motion, Mr. Speaker, with the following prayers. Just two prayers, Mr. Speaker. Prayer one, that this House immediately summon the chairman and commissioners of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission to appear before the House to provide explanations about the Commission's actions and unappropriated expenditures. Mr. Speaker, prayer two, and any other action that this House will consider appropriate in this circumstance. By your kind leave, Mr. Speaker, may I lay this motion at the table. Please. Any second?
Arise this morning to second the motion as moved by my colleague, Honorable George. I so second.
My name is nnamdikanu. I represent the good people of Fubara State constituency. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, I'm in total support of the motion as brought in by my very reverend brother and colleague, George. Mr. Speaker, you will recall that the various infractions as committed by the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission drew the state into a very big hostile international community. This particular reset conducted election that was adjudged to be valid by the Supreme Court. We cannot afford to allow them to make mistakes when a very good House of Assembly is existing. That is our job, to call them to order in order not to waste further funds of the state. Mr. Speaker, I add myself in totality and in its entirety of all that has been said in said motion, and add that all the prayers should be resolved in favor of this motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Wiley, one from Ghana Constituency, one in the River State House of Assembly. First of all, I want to thank my honorable colleague, nnamdikanu, for bringing up this motion at this time, so that we don't run into what we ran into last year by the River State Independent Commission. It is very sad to know that the River State Independent Commission, the Electoral Commission, conducted election the last year. And when we got the information that they were to do election, which was not in consonance with the law, we wrote to them, but they refused to honor the letter. We invited them, they refused to honor us, and they went ahead to conduct the election. And everybody, the whole world has seen what has happened today in that election. And they have come up again, even when the law is not duly followed. I want to align myself with my colleagues on all the prayer he has put down here. And I will urge my colleagues to also do the same, so that we will put it to them that these prayers need to be met so that things can be done the proper way in the state. It will not look as if it is a double justice area. So I would pray that my colleagues should also join me to, or join us to hear our voice on this prayer that has been put down for the electoral commission to follow, to appear before us. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, very remarkable colleagues, I stand this morning as Honorable Igwe Bay Afọji. I represent the good people of Element in this God's Assembly. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague, my friend, Honorable nnamdikanu, for bringing this motion at this time. And I've looked at it carefully, and I'm interested in prayer 3, Mr. Speaker. Prayer 3 says to explain the cause of the ill-fated 5th October 2024 elections, where they expect to generate the budget funds required to conduct the proposed elections. We are seeing on social media that they are at it again. And so for my colleague to bring this motion at this time, I want to thank you. Because if this House does not rise and invite the Commission to come here and explain to us how the state has come to this point where we start and keep wasting money, that's prayers money. So these prayers, all of them, I agree with them. But particularly, the number 3 prayer, we need to invite them. They need to come here and speak to Rivers people, speak to this House, and explain where they expect to generate funds from when budget has not been presented. And when Supreme Court has not given a judgment. And looking at the caliber of the chairman of the commission, it bothers me, and that is why it's important for all of us to encourage and support this, so that they can come and explain to the person, and this House will do justice to what it's supposed to do and will work as we are supposed to work as people. So I call on all my colleagues that after carefully looking at all these prayers, I support this motion, and I want all of us not to waste time. Quickly pass this motion and let us do the deed so we can save this state. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, I want to align myself with the approval of this motion. First, because it is important to let the people of these states know that we're doing our jobs here as members of the State Assembly in accordance to the lay down procedures and law. So we shouldn't be seen as wish huts to any person. We are exercising our own rights that has been given to us by Constitution. And that's what I'm trying to say is this. I am aware of the caliber of the chairman of the Senate. He is someone which I know very well, is appraised with the Constitution and of course the laws of our land. Last week, we just got this judgment from the Supreme Court that has stopped the Central Bank from allocating monies that are meant to be for the state to us. Reason because the monies were not appropriated for. And of course, we know the implication of that. And at the end, what it led us to. Today, we're talking about scarcity of funds in the country and of course the states. It would be nice for us to face the trend we faced the last time that led to, where we are today. So in all, I want to say I align myself again with the mover of this motion and state it clearly here that we are not in any manner or any way hurting any person. I believe we've wasted so much time. We've wasted so much time, in our ways of deliberating issues. We've been nice to people in these states. We've been nice to the executive and his team whatsoever. We've been fair to them. But at this point, I think it's high time we start hitting the hammer directly on the nail. It is not for our own good alone, but for the entire group of the entire state. After this time, people will know that we are not enemies of the state, but of course, people that want the best for the people of our state. So again, at this point, let me ask my colleagues to support this motion that was brought to us here by our own colleague, Nnamdikanu George, to support this motion. Invite the chairman, just as he has said, and of course, make him understand the implication of what he is trying to do again, because we know to fall back to the situation we faced the last time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission law passed by this House of Assembly. And we are entitled to powers of oversight or powers to investigate any commission or agency that we made law to have it set up. Section 128 of the Constitution has vested on this assembly the power to investigate or invite anybody to appear before this assembly. Honorable members, this motion is merely calling on this House to invoke powers vested by the Constitution, particularly in Section 128, to invite or to investigate any matter, particularly matters that are within our legislative oversight. We are all aware that the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission is clearly on the residual list of the 1999 Constitution as amended. And the Commission cannot continue to operate or spend taxpayers' money without approval. From our records, this assembly has not approved or even been approached to approve any amount of money for this commission from 1st January 2024 to date. But this commission has gone ahead on a spending spree, spending billions of taxpayers' money on their own. The governor has been releasing money to them without an appropriation, without approval. As it stands today, the Rivers House of Assembly does not know the amount of money that has been sent to this commission, or what they spent, or what they spend the money on. They are just freelancers.
And as at the last time I checked the records, the chairman of this commission is a retired judge of the Rivers High Court. And we believe that he is supposed to know more about laws of Rivers State and the Constitution. Sadly enough, he's acting in a manner that calls for serious scrutiny. We must scrutinize what is going on in this commission. And while the House just sat on Monday to begin to deliberate on how to commence the amendment of the Rivers State Local Government Law and the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission Law, so that these two laws can be in tandem with the Electoral Act. We serve the resolution to the governor and to the commission chairman. It's published in national dailies. Everybody is aware. And the response this chairman can do is to summon a meeting today to commence the process, neglecting the position of this house that there is need for us to review our laws so that they can be in tandem with the Electoral Act, so that all that were problems that made the Supreme Court to nullify the election will not happen again. We think that this commission chairman and his commissioners and members are out to bring Rivers State to disrepute. We have turned out to be a laughingstock in the Committee of States, that elections will be conducted and nullified by the Supreme Court. The same thing they did before, they have started again. Honorable members, I want to thank the mover of this motion and members for their contributions, and to say that the prayers of this particular motion are germane, and there is need for us to go by the prayers, particularly the prayer that is calling on this House to invite the chairman of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission and his commissioners to appear before this August Assembly, so that they can explain to the House how they went about an election that was finally nullified by the Supreme Court, where they got funds, who approved funds for them to spend, and who has approved funds for them to spend again for the next election they are planning to conduct without this assembly, without asking for approval for funds. They need to come and explain to us, explain to Rivers people. Fair hearing is important, and we must give them that opportunity. And that is why that particular prayer is the key prayer, and I think we need to adopt that prayer, which is to invite them. The mover of the motion did not specify a date, or did you do so? But I think on Friday, 7th of March, 2 days from now, which is 48 hours from now, will be sufficient. So when the commission chairman and the commissioners are before us, they should be able to tell us what they are doing. They didn't appoint themselves there. They are not serving themselves. They are not bigger than the Constitution and the laws of Rivers State. They must be subjected to our Constitution and to our laws. And so they must appear before the Rivers people and explain what they are doing, what they have done with our funds, and what they are planning to do with our funds. And I think Friday must be the best date for now, so that we can ask the clerk of the House to immediately forward a letter of invitation to the chairman to come with all the commissioners and all relevant documents that will show us how they got funds for the last election that they threw away to the wind, and what really transpired last year about the 5th October 2024 local government elections that has now been nullified by the apex courts in the land. So those in favor of the prayers as moved by Honorable Enemy Alabo George and amended to include that they appear before this House on the 7th of March 2025 should indicate by raising their hands. Against? 25. Against, nil. Abstention, nil. By this voting, honorable members, this House has therefore resolved that the clerk of the House should immediately forward a letter to the chairman of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission asking him to appear before this August Assembly on Friday, the 7th of March 2025 at 10 a.m. to answer questions pertaining to their conduct in office, to explain to this August Assembly how they have been spending funds belonging to these states without approval of this August Assembly, what they did with the funds given to them in the year 2024, which they spent in the ill-fated 5th October 2024 local government elections, and why they are still spending funds in the year 2025 without an appropriation law, and planning to conduct another election without approval, without any budget. So this is the position of the House, and when the chairman and these commissioners appear before us, we will know the next step to take. And by resolution of this House, the clerk will include in the letter that if the chairman and the commissioners fail to appear before this August Assembly, the House will be left with no other option but to invoke its powers vested in us in Section 129 of the 1999 Constitution to issue a warrant of arrest to compel them to appear before this August Assembly. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, I remain Honorable Major Jack. I represent Nakuto of 21 here in the Rivers State House of Assembly and the sponsor of this motion. Mr. Speaker, my motion is to condemn the running of government of Rivers State by the governor with persons not screened and confirmed by the Rivers State House of Assembly. Mr. Speaker, you recall that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as altered, empowers the Rivers State House of Assembly to screen, confirm, and appoint into the Rivers State Executive Council. Mr. Speaker, there are many impostors who parade themselves today as members of Rivers State Executive Council who were not screened and confirmed by the Rivers State House of Assembly. Mr. Speaker, this infraction has made Rivers State a laughing stock in the Committee of War. Mr. Speaker, in the Committee of State, in the Committee of State, yes. Mr. Speaker, the fact that the rule of law must be upheld in order to allow good governance in the state, I respectfully urge this August Assembly to do resolve as follows. Mr. Speaker, I read the prayers. To condemn the infiltration of the State Executive Council by impostors. 2. To urge the governor of Rivers State to stop parading persons not screened and confirmed by the 10th Rivers State House of Assembly as Commissioner or as Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice. 3. To urge this House to issue a resolution to the governor of Rivers State to submit to the Rivers State House of Assembly a list of nominees for appointment as commissioners. 4. Any other directive this House may deem necessary in this circumstance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. By your leave, may I lay this motion at the table.
Please. Thank you, the Leader of the House. Second.
The right honorable Speaker, very conscious and distinguished colleagues of the 10th Assembly, I am together with I am from a job and I represent Asarito Constituency 1. I second the motion moved by our leader, Honorable Major Jack, ISO second.
You can leave it if you want to leave. You can.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, in doing so,
Yes, in doing so, Mr. Speaker, I want to use this opportunity to deliberate on this, debate on this motion. Mr. Speaker, it is worrisome. It is so shameful to hear that as important as Commissioner for Justice or Attorney General is in the states, Rivers State, Mr. Speaker, Rivers State do not have Attorney General or Commissioner for Justice. Mr. Speaker, I want to totally align myself with prayer 2 and prayer 3. Mr. Speaker, maybe that's why the Supreme Court said Rivers State do not have a government. If I were the governor, that would have been the first thing to do, to rush to the assembly to submit names of these important commissioners to make sure we have a government in Rivers State. Mr. Speaker, it is seen by the Constitution, it is seen by everybody that Rivers State do not have the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend once again the leader of this State Assembly for prayer 3. He has said that he has proposed in his prayer that we should urge the governor of Rivers State to submit to the State House of Assembly a list of nominees for appointment as commissioners. Mr. Speaker, this is obvious that the Rivers State House of Assembly have the Rivers people at heart. What the leader had just asked, Mr. Governor, bring the list of commissioners. Let us screen them so that Rivers State can move forward. It's a simple thing to do. I want to personally plead that the governor should keep pride. He should keep ego. He should keep any evil or bad advice and kindly submit the list of commissioners so that this 10th assembly will screen them and forward it back to the governor so that Rivers State will move forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Linda Somiari Stewart of Africa. I represent the good people of Africa. Mr. Speaker, I want to align myself to all the prayers in this motion, but in aligning myself to the prayers and in sending this motion, by the time we approve it to the governor, I want to just add a word of advice from elders. And it says that the governor's duty is not to power, but to the Constitution. And it is the obedience of the Constitution we are talking about. For when leaders stray from the law, it is always the innocent who suffer. When a leader strays from the law, people are bound to be appointed into offices and then they will be chased out of those offices. So I just want to add, as a word of advice, that a governor's duty is not to power, but to the Constitution. Obedience to the Constitution is not a favor to the people. It is a shield that protects the people from becoming collateral damage in the ambitions of the powerful. We must stop pursuing power and, in that vein, making people, fathers, mothers, collateral damages. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank the sponsor of this motion, the leader of this honorable house, Honorable Major Jack.
to say that this motion is timely. Mr. Speaker, the governor of Rivers State has been acting in compliance to the provisions of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the principle of separation of power, which states that the three arms of government shall act separately in order to achieve the said goals. Mr. Speaker, the governor has been maladministering the state with impunity, arbitrariness, bias, neglect, and ineptitude. Appointing commissioners and members of commissions and agencies to operate in a state where we have legislative arm. The power of nomination lies with the governor. But the power of screening and clearance of the people lies with the legislative arm, and that is the power vested on the Rivers State House of Assembly. But in this regard, Mr. Speaker, the governor wants to act as the legislature and the executive, and that is where the problem lies. Mr. Speaker, we do not want to go contrary to the Constitution. The motion is timely, and I think this House should take necessary action. Those parading themselves as commissioners that were not slain by this honorable House are doing so at their own detriment. And this House must take a decisive decision in order to condemn these excesses of the governor and some of them who are parading themselves as members of the Rivers State Executive Council, especially the commissioner or the attorney general. That office is strategic. The purported commissioner for attorney general of the state is a strategic office. He cannot put an impostor to begin to parade himself as attorney general of the state. Mr. Speaker, I align myself completely with all the prayers as stated in this motion. I want to urge the honorable members to give note to this motion because this motion is timely and it's a good motion for this House. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, the attention of this honorable House to three very important sections of this Constitution. Mr. Speaker, by your kind read. Mr. Speaker, Section 192 of 1999 Constitution as ordered reads, there shall be such offices of the Commissioner of the Government of the State. Section 192, subsection 2. Any appointment to the office of Commissioner of the Government of the State shall, if the nomination of such a person is confirmed by the House of Assembly of the State. Mr. Speaker, for what the time has come there. Section 195, Attorney General of the State. Mr. Speaker, it reads, there shall be an Attorney General of the State who shall be the Chief Law Officer of the State and Commissioner for Justice of the government of that state. Speaker, lastly, I will take Section 210, Public Prosecutions. Section 211, Mr. Speaker. The Attorney General of the State shall have power to institute and undertake criminal proceedings against any person before any court of law in Nigeria, other than the court martial, in respect to any offense created by or under any law of that assembly. B, to take over and continue any such criminal proceedings that may have been instituted by any other authority or person. C, to discontinue at any stage before judgment is delivered any such criminal proceeding instituted or undertaken by him or any other authority or person. Mr. Speaker, the point I want to portray is that we are in danger as a state. As of today, any criminal, any armed robber that the Rivers State is prosecuting can go to court and seek a mistrial. Any case today that the requesting lawyer says, I have been taken to court by the Rivers government because I was an armed robber, but the Attorney General of the state is not an Attorney General, it's an impostor. It means that all such cases will be thrown out of court through mistrial. That is the reality of the danger we find ourselves in today. Mr. Speaker, that is why this House must, as a matter of urgency, take a decision on this matter. And that's why I align myself with all the prayers as moved by the leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
member representative. Mr. Speaker, I commend the leader of this House for bringing this important motion. Mr. Speaker, I agree and align myself with the last speaker, when it comes to 150 of the Constitution. That is very significant in any government in the world, the office of the Attorney General. Unfortunately, just last week Friday, the Supreme Court said the attitude of the governor of this state is taken to be that of a dictator. What a dictator does is to go to the street and pick people that will sit with him against the clear provisions of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, 192 is very clear. Sub 1 and 2. On the procedure to appoint who should serve as a commissioner in all the states in Nigeria. Is a law that is applicable to all the states and not only Rivers State. Sadly, regrettably, the government has gone to bring clear infiltration to the State Executive Council, as clearly stated in the motion paper, and then called impostors, Mr. Speaker. These impostors have committed offenses against the state. Unfortunately, the chief law officer of the state, who is supposed to prosecute those who have committed these offenses, is also an impostor. That is the prayer of this motion, sir. I therefore agree and align myself with all the prayers, including the consequential prayers. That's prayer 4, which says this house, any other directive, this house may deem to make in the circumstance. I agree with Naira that those who stole money, because they have, I would say they stole our money because they didn't have the mandate to receive or spend, should become to be by law enforcement agencies. If we allow those who commit offense in our state to keep on walking the street, tomorrow morning you see another person will commit an offense and say, what did we do? So I agree with the submission and all the prayers here, and I ask this House to urgently do the needful, as clearly stated in the motion paper. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Because we're actually doing what we're supposed to do, ensuring that the laws of the land are obeyed. Distinguished colleagues, that said, it's important to begin my remarks by re-echoing provisions of Section 195, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Distinguished colleagues, this particular section says that there shall be an Attorney General for each state who shall be the chief law officer of the state and commissioner for justice of the government of that state. Distinguished colleagues, Section 192, subsection 2, has clearly stated that all nominees, Section 192, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, states that all nominees for appointment as commissioners into the Rivers State Executive Council shall be confirmed by the State House of Assembly, which is this assembly. Distinguished colleagues, the governor of this state, who is now the nationally acclaimed dictator of our time, going by the judgment of the Supreme Court and other pronouncements of other courts, is still harboring this impostor who is parading himself as the Attorney General of Rivers State. This individual is moving from one court to the other, claiming to be the chief law officer of Rivers State, whereas he is not. He is not known to law. He is misleading the public, misleading Rivers people. He is receiving funds and spending funds. He is issuing press statements deriding the State House of Assembly day by day as an impostor. the most dangerous aspect of our problem today is that when you don't have the chief law officer, as enshrined in section 195 of our constitution, when you don't have a legitimate attorney general who should stand in for the state government, who should be in charge of legal matters, it portends great danger for our dear states. And this 10th assembly must rise up to the occasion. We need to call on all the courts of our federation, the magistrate courts, the high courts of the states, federal high courts, the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, to know that Rivers State does not have an attorney general. Rivers State does not have an attorney general. Those doing business in Rivers State, those dealing with this individual, Mr. Iboroma Dagogo, should know that they are doing so at their own risk. All those who the governor is still parading in the State Executive Council as commissioners, who were never screened or confirmed by this assembly, pursuant to section 192 subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution, are not commissioners of Rivers State. They are mere impostors, and Rivers people and indeed Nigerians should beware of these individuals. They are defrauding the state. They are spending resources of the state in a criminal manner, and they are liable to criminal prosecution. This house must rise up to the occasion and defend Rivers people. The malfeasance in this government by this governor has gone to the point where we must not allow him to continue. We represent our people. We have their mandates. They have nowhere else to run to but to this assembly. And that is why we must insist that the right thing be done. On this note, distinguished colleagues, having collected your views, let me say that there is need to forward a letter in line with this motion to the governor, drawing his attention to these anomalies, to these infractions on our constitution, and asking the governor to do the needful, to do the right thing, by stop parading these impostors, these individuals, whose names will be mentioned in our resolution and forwarded to the governor. As at the last count, there are 19 of them. There are 19 of them, these impostors, in the State Executive Council, including the fake Attorney General, Mr. Iboroma Dagogo. So we will ensure that this letter gets to the governor, and we hope that the governor, flowing from the judgment of the Supreme Court, will take a hint from this assembly and do the right thing and not listen to those who they are paying from other states, moving from one radio station, from one TV station, and talking to themselves. Certainly they are not talking to Rivers people, because Rivers people know where we are going. So this letter has to be sent to the governor immediately. And we will give the governor 48 hours to immediately forward a list of nominees for appointment into the Rivers State Executive Council as commissioners. All these 19 impostors are directed by this assembly to stop parading themselves. If they continue to do so, we will have no choice to invoke our powers as vested in us by the Constitution to order for their arrest, because they are criminals in the eyes of the law. Distinguished colleagues, I thank you for your contribution. I thank you for your contribution, and I believe that there is need to now put the question. Those in favor of the prayers of this motion as amended should indicate by raising their hands. Against? Abstention? Distinguished colleagues, those in favor, 25. Against? Nil. Abstention? Nil. Distinguished colleagues, by this voting, the House has resolved to forward the resolution of this House to the Governor, informing the Governor of what transpired in the 131st legislative day of the second section of this 10th Assembly, and informing the Governor that his illegal appointments of persons to serve in various offices without first forwarding their names for screening and confirmation in line with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended and other extant laws is indeed an infraction on our Constitution and must be stopped. We must also indicate in our resolution that the purported Attorney General that the Governor is parading is an impostor, and that Rivers State does not have an Attorney General because the Governor has not forwarded any name to us in that respect, and we have not screened anybody or confirmed anybody to occupy that position in line with Section 192, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, meaning that Rivers State does not have an Attorney General or a Chief Law Officer in compliance with Section 195 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. We will also include in that resolution, which we are forwarding to the Governor, that the Governor needs to be reminded of another infraction of the Constitution in which he illegally swore in several other persons who are parading themselves as commissioners in the Rivers State Executive Council, which he swore in on Tuesday, the 21st day of May, 2024, namely Prince Charles Obeke, Collins Onuwo, Solomon Eke, Peter Mede, Eloka Tasia Emade, Basone Joshua Benibo, Tambari, Sidney Bara, and Ovi Orudeye Chinedum Chukuma, without screening and confirmation by this State House of Assembly in full compliance with Section 192, sub 2 and 6 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Others who he swore in on Tuesday, 13th of August 2024 are Elamo Arugu, Roland Obed White, Samuel Anya, Samuel Eiba, and Austin Emeka Nadoze, while Israel Mbuelu, Evans Bipi, Otamiri Ngubo, and Benibo Alabaraba were sworn in on Monday, 7th October 2024. Emmanuel Frank Fubara was sworn in on the 8th day of July 2024, amounting to a total of 19 persons parading themselves and misleading Rivers people that they are commissioners, receiving funds from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of Rivers State, spending taxpayers' money without approval. And all these are infractions against laws of Rivers State and the Constitution. In the letter we are forwarding to the Governor, we're also including another infraction of the law in which the Governor swore in Lawrence Oko-Jaja as chairman, Ernest Ibekwe Ekwe Mena Obanga, Iseleye Amakre, and Adokie Oyagre as members of the Rivers State Bureau on Public Procurement on Friday, 30th of August 2024, without screening and confirmation by the Rivers House of Assembly as stipulated in Section 4, subsection A of the Rivers State Public Procurement Law number 4 of 2008. Others are Gift Alex Hart, Grace Osaronu, and Selina and Monia as members. Also to be included in this resolution to be forwarded to the governor is governor's action in swearing in Good Life Ben as chairman, Emmanuel Jaja, Betty Womit, Jerome Chimenem, Prince Ohochukwu, Philip Okparaji, and Christian Amadi as members of the Rivers State Local Government Service Commission without screening and confirmation, contrary to Section 44, subsection 3 of the Rivers State Local Government Law number 5 of 2018. Again, to be included in this resolution to be forwarded to the governor is other infractions which indeed are appointments made by the governor into other commissions like the Assembly Service Commission and other commissions which are not in consonance with extant laws of Rivers State, with the Constitution, and are indeed a threat to our nascent democracy. Time may not permit us to read further names, and I believe that this letter has to go to the governor, and that we are going to ask the governor to forward list of nominees for screening and confirmation to fill all these vacancies, so that these persons, that is, if he's going to resubmit them, we don't know, cannot be in consonance with the Constitution and laws of Rivers State. We are going to tell the governor in this letter we are sending to him that he should act fast and do the needful and bring this list to us within 48 hours so that we can do the needful and Rivers State can move forward. Distinguished colleagues, that is the resolution that the clerk is going to forward. We are going to forward to the governor. I'm going to sign the letter to be forwarded to the governor, while the clerk will sign the letter to be forwarded to the chairman of Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. Distinguished colleagues, before I conclude or call for adjournment, let me inform this August Assembly that the governor of Rivers State, in his usual dictatorial manner, has ordered all officers of the Rivers State government, particularly in the executive arm, not to receive any correspondence from the Rivers State House of Assembly. It's important I place this on record that this action of the governor directing officers of the government of Rivers State not to receive correspondence from a legitimate Rivers State House of Assembly is not only an affront to the Constitution and to this August Assembly, but an affront to our democracy generally. Members are aware that on Monday, with the leave of this House, we forwarded a letter to the governor. The governor directed that the letter should not be received. And even those who went there were turned back at the gate, and there is evidence to that because it is in writing. And this is not the first time the governor is doing this. But when the governor is done with his malfeasance, he walks up to the church and kneels down and asks them to pray for him. He will start quoting Philippians chapter 3 and other verses of the Bible. This is unbecoming of a governor who swore to abide by the Constitution. This malfeasance must stop. This is the Rivers State House of Assembly. We are not appointees of the governor, and the governor must obey the Constitution. What the governor is saying is that he's not going to write us and we should not write him. It's important that the world should know what the governor is doing, this dictator of our time, what he's doing. And I felt I should let Rivers people to know that this is the situation. There is still no guarantee that they will receive this one, but just to let members know that every letter we forward to the governor and agencies of Rivers State government, we publish them in national dailies. But since the governor has directed that all our letters should not be received and that he will not obey the judgment of the Supreme Court, he is merely giving broadcast, but behind he is refusing to obey any judgment delivered by either the Federal High Court, the Court of Appeal, or the Supreme Court. Honorable members, I felt I should draw your attention to the situation. Thank you very much. Leader. Motion for adjournment.
I move that this House stands adjourned to the 7th day of March, Friday, 2025 at 10 a.m. prompt. I so move.
Friday, the 7th day of March 2024 at 10 a.m. On the other paper will be the appearance of the chairman and commissioners of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. Mr. Speaker,